All right, ready to go. I think it's been pre-COVID since we met in here, right? Sounds like I know we've been meeting on the first floor. But this first time we've done a joint OAT team huddle, which we usually do once a month. And we pushed it to today. And of course, this is our webcast, but it's one of my favorite ways to do them is a live audience and then virtual. And we kind of used to do this when we used to do the district webcast. So thanks for joining us today. We have essentially the agenda and plus the summary of last month. Usually in our OAT team huddle, as all you know, is we do a good, cool, and interesting news section. And we're going to do that for this one, except I'm going to be the one doing it. I'm going to read something to you. And it's good and cool and interesting news, although it may not seem like it at certain times when I read it. I most likely need to take some long pauses of silence in certain places of it to gather myself as I read through it. It will be the most difficult and emotional thing I've ever read in front of an audience. So please bear with me and have patience like you've had with me for the past 32 years. Just a little bit more. This is mainly a tribute to all of us and your predecessors over the past 32 years. I've never been counting down the days to retirement because for the past 32 years, I have truly enjoyed the type of work we've been doing, what we have accomplished, and the people that I've been doing it with in the Office of Education Technology and KDE, with all of our districts and all your predecessors, our KETS partners like Kentucky Educational Television, the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, and all of our tech vendors. And for many reasons that I'll share with you, have really been dreading, struggled with, and wrestled with for years the topic of retirement. Since I became eligible for retirement over 5 years ago, whenever anyone asked me about it, I frequently say something playful like, but true, like I'm a game time decision every day, which is a good place to be. I tell you, that's a fun place to be. Or like a pro athlete saying at the end of a season, we'll contemplate and decide if I'm going to play one more year. And we all do the one more year type of thing. So I want to let you all know, after closely evaluating, I have decided this is my retirement year from 3 different awesome organizations. At KDE, as the Associate Commissioner, at Kentucky Educational Television, and most of you probably don't know, I'm the Vice Chair of their board, and as the liaison for the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, as well as been KDE's rep at the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative for 32 years. This will begin no sooner than July of August and no later than my birthday in December. You won't notice any difference in my passion, commitment, and energy, nor will I be taking large amounts of time off. Before then, I never slow down or stop until the final horn sounds and of the game sounds, no matter the score or what is and isn't going on at the time. While there is nothing that is stopping or preventing me from continuing to be in the roles I've been in over the past 32 years in these 3 organizations, there comes a time when you want to, need to, and can move on while you're still in good physical and mental health. Some would question I'm still in good mental health. To go on to places that you've always wanted to go, to do things in life that you've always wanted to do, but have made them a lower priority some future day. And that future day is now for me at the age of 63. I recently looked at a forum that I got approved to travel to right after my West Point graduation in 1983 of places I've never been before. There's a guy I was going to go with. His name is Paul Sino. He was captain and All-American of our lacrosse team at Army. And we had planned to go to Australia and Spain and Brazil. Now, Paul was obviously a very gifted lacrosse player. Don't tell him I said that if you know who Paul is. So I had everything packed. And we're getting ready to head out to our journey for 2 months before we actually went to our Army units. And so Paul calls me and says, I got to let you know something. I'm not going to be able to go tomorrow. I said, okay, Paul, we got 3 days. We got 3 days to play with. He says, I'm not going. I said, where? He says, I'm in the hospital because I have blown out my ACL and MCL in the All-Star game. I said, that's okay, Paul. We'll just wrap it up. We'll just wrap it up, and I can push you around in a wheelchair. Around 3 countries we've never been to, right? And he says, no, I'm getting ready to have surgery. I said, even better, he would have a full leg cast like this. It's even better. It'll be easier. I couldn't talk him into it, but it did make me sad when I looked at those recently and realized I'd still never been to those different places after all these years. My original plan in 2019, when I reached the 27-year mark, and that's what it takes to be able to retire, was to try to get more EdTech funding in the upcoming January through March 2020 legislative session. What happened then, right? Then go to Australia with our son. He had worked so hard. He was a senior at Northern Kentucky University, and he'd won a study abroad program to have it paid for. And so I thought it'd be good timing to, in July, through that December, retire and then go join our son in Australia after retiring. But, the pandemic started, and I felt a responsibility to stay during the pandemic when there was such high dependency on EdTech products and services in our agency and our districts until things somewhat got back to a normal school year. And 2023 was probably that somewhat normal year, but we had new important cool stuff come up. We had the master plan, to plan for. By the way, when I was doing the 2018-2024 plan, I said, I'll never be around for the next one. There it was, because it takes about a year and a half to do those ahead of time. The next generation Kentucky Internet had to be bid and worked on, and that takes a long time ahead of time. The queues. I wanted to do some things just like any probably good leader does. I wanted to clean up and address some things that didn't benefit me, but would put my successor in a good position, which I think any good leader tries to do. So this past July in 2023, I was back to where I was at in 2019. And wanted to give it one last at bat in the legislature to try to restore the cuts we've had to cuts and position us well financially in the future for the 10 years after I'm gone. I got to tell you, even though I could have left in 2019, I'm so glad I got to stay the past 5 years and see the difference we'd all made in EdTech during 3 different major widespread crises, the pandemic, the tornadoes, and the floods. Now, that caused us to accelerate, to certain things. We know we got one-to-one much faster. It shouldn't take a pandemic to do that. We got digital learning coaches like we never had before, but we did accelerate the goals. I'm very proud that we were able to get a very high percentage of discretionary federal funds and KDE and from the governor's office to go toward EdTech. If not the highest percentage, one of the highest percentages of that money for things like, computers and on-campus internet networks, including the parking lots, going beyond the school campus for internet, all the digital learning coaches, our online registration. And thanks for folks like, Robin Kinney here is our interim, who was, the Associate Commissioner of the Office of Financial Operations during the time. They supported me in that, that part. And so I do appreciate my KD leadership teammates for supporting us for that record funding. And during the past 4 years, we have had record amounts of funds go toward education technology, more than double than we had previously. In fact, we got over the $538 million mark. Of course, $500 million, just recently. So very proud to got to see the difference it made. I want to let you know that, having been in that chair and worked, across the nation, the Office of Education Technology, Kentucky Educational Television, and the High School Athletic Association are truly national leaders in what they do, and they work so well together like no other state. And this is so true. My peers in the other state, they don't ever talk to their KT equivalent or the High School Athletic Association equivalent. And it's so rare those 3 organizations work together. But I got to tell you, and it's been fun to be part of it, they are national leaders. Each one of those are truly national leaders in what they do, and we're fortunate to be part of it. I am most proud of the effort and consistent excellence and innovation of these 3 organizations for 32 years. It is equivalent to a 30-win and 1-loss team average over 3 decades, which is nearly impossible to do. I got to be part of the birth of the Kentucky Education Technology System, KETS. Got to be part of the Kentucky Education Television in its earliest 60s and 70s when my mom as a teacher parked me in front of there and got to see the birth of that, the first educational television program in America, got to be part of that, and the major transitions that High School Athletic Association has made over the past 30 years. If we were a sports team, we'd have a shelf full of national championships, and we were always in the mix for another one. The other 49 states and organizations beyond Kentucky that I'm frequently with them really recognize us as the best in the nation and the gold standard of what they'd like to be. For many years, we were focusing so hard on being the best we could be statewide, we didn't realize how far ahead we were in comparison to the other 49 states. I can vividly recall that secretariat moment in KETS. I'm talking about the 3rd leg. I was young then. A lot of you weren't born then, 1973. The 3rd leg of the 1973 Triple Crown race, when jockey Ronnie Turcotte of Secretariat, hearing no one around, looked back and for the first time for crossing the finish line, noticed that they were at least 31 lengths ahead of everyone else and set a record for the winning time and the distance between the winner and the 2nd place horse that still stands today in the Belmont. For KETS, that secretariat moment for me was after the first 15 years being so focused in on Kentucky K-12 doing its best in our race, we looked around and realized that we were at least a decade, if not 2 decades ahead in EdTech of the other 49 states in nearly every meaningful category. But that didn't just happen just once in Ketz, but regularly over the past 32 years, as well as in KET and the High School Athletic Association. How did I get so lucky to be part of this cool history, great teams, good deeds, and success for so long? Just give me a minute. It has been absolutely wonderful and rewarding to be around such talented people. I'm gonna make it. To help make wonderful things happen for students and give them a good run and go at life. These are far the best teams I've ever been on and will ever be a member of. It has been so fun to be part of the magic, like seeing a very rare successful musical group that creates and then puts hit after hit song over the decades that stays relevant and cutting edge, like 1970s songs, Marty, right? It is fun to get to see and experience firsthand the music being created and birthed behind the scenes before it went public to an entire state. I got to see how hard and understaffed and talented people in these three organizations work. I have been so fortunate to have these kind of people around in my life for 32 years. Thus, it's very obviously, it's very difficult for me to leave teams that are still great and successful, where the work is still so meaningful, and the upcoming projects are so large. So it's made it very difficult for me to stop and let go before now. I have always been waiting for that lull and long pause in what we were doing, but it's never happened in 32 years, and I suspect it's never going to happen for these three organizations. They have the cultures of excellence. They're focused and dedicated to do the right way, do it the right way for the right reasons. This dream job for me in Ketz came along exactly the right time in history and directly led to my relationships with KET and the High School Athletic Association. And all three were a perfect fit for me. I got so lucky because it's also a situation to where preparation meets opportunity. You do get luckier the harder you work, the more education and variety of skills that you gain. The timing was great because it was post-Desert Storm. My mom was wanting me to come back and do something safer in my life. There was an opportunity to come back to Kentucky, my home state. It involved K-12. It was the very beginning of really education technology in America and the internet in schools in America. It was focused on education and sports and service to others, which I always enjoy. In this case, it was students, teachers, and staff. It was about improving Kentucky's position educationally and economically with equity and belief that all children can learn at high levels, and I wanted to be part of that. My parents played a big role. Obviously, my high school, the first school to teach computer science in Kentucky. I'm very proud of them always in Johnson County. West Point did help me get me ready, but that was really hard. I wouldn't want to do that again. And the Army got me ready for this once in a lifetime opportunity. So I had done some things to get myself prepared. So you do think there's luck. There's definitely luck involved. This all came together, but you definitely have responsibility to get yourself prepared. And this had engineering, computer science, and leadership, and working leading groups of large and different backgrounds, adapting to constant change and stressful situations, large-scale technology components, in emerging technology. And I got a great break after the Army sent me to get a degree in computer science and large systems management. I got made the director of the U.S. Army's first and most modern electronic war facility, where I got to see ARPANET, which was the precursor of the internet. So I knew that worked. It wasn't just theory. I could see it. I got in charge of unmanned aerial vehicles, which they now call drones. I was in charge of, believe it or not, with artificial intelligence and satellite systems that were used very effectively in Operation Desert Storm, and all played a role in helping me with the birth of EdTech and Ketz in Kentucky. My journey at KD in Ketz is interesting, but not well known. One of the cool things about the Army is you can get placed in senior positions way above your pay grade. So I was a captain in a colonel position. Some of that's because I had done some degrees and been in charge of some things. And so the electronic war facility, I was actually in a colonel position. Desert Storm had ended. My mom was saying, get back to Kentucky. I'm worried about you. Digital Equipment Corporation at the time, that company no longer exists. Logan Bales, but Digital Equipment Corporation. We had done a lot with them across the United States. And so my mom said, there's this advertisement of something called the Kentucky Education Reform Act that just got passed. And they have something with technology. And I think they've mentioned Digital Equipment Corporation. So, I said, well, maybe it's this time to take a look. So I sent a resume to Digital Equipment Corporation for a position they had. I got something back that, why don't you come back and why don't you come in for an interview? I had never been to Frankfurt before. So I flew in from Arizona, and I wasn't familiar with the buildings here. Obviously, I'm very familiar with them now. So I came in, I thought I was at the right place, and so I step in for the interview. And during the interview, I realized they're interviewing for a position I didn't apply for, and an organization I didn't apply for. So it was Kentucky Department of Education, and it was a position, it was a leadership position in OET. And I said, they've got the wrong dude. They've flown in the wrong dude. And I said, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna play along with it and give this an at bat, why I'm sitting here. And they showed me this also, it was literally a stack of resumes for this position. And they said, we've gone through all those, and now we're up to you. I was like, okay, see how this goes. But I did realize at some point, they did tell me, I guess they saw the confusion on my face, that they realized that I didn't apply for this position. That actually Digital Equipment Corporation had forwarded it to them for reasons I don't know. They had difficulty filling the position, I suspect, and so they filled it. So I got offered the position that day, and called my wife back, and they took the leap of faith with me, many years ago, and have been here with no regrets ever since. So while retirement is a cause of celebration, at the same time, there's also great sadness, especially if you are leaving the people, the organizations. I knew this sentence was going to be hard. Especially if you're leaving the people, organizations, and the kind of work you truly love, which I am. This is hard. So I'm looking forward to the future. I'm greatly saddened and anxiously wondering about the unknown future. I had the same type of feeling when I played my last high school and college basketball game, when I graduated high school, and when I left the U.S. Army after Desert Storm to join KDE. By the way, I didn't have the same feeling of sadness when I graduated West Point. I gotta tell you, I did not. Don't know how in the world I made it through there. Example I would give is our high school basketball team had a history of success, and I wanted to be part of that since I was a little elementary school. I remember wearing the jerseys to the games, and I said I want to be part of that someday to help continue that success. And once I made the team, I can recall all the work it took during my own time on weekends and long, hard, intense practices and the road trips and doing social things together with my teammates, and then the games, and then suddenly it's over. We had a team banquet our senior year. We celebrated, then graduated high school, but the sadness was never getting to wear that jersey again representing my school or the cool mission of winning games together. But the saddest part is you never really get to all get together again. It's all about relationships in life. So I greatly enjoy any kind of connection or reunion with those in my past, and I hope that continues with many of you all once I leave. The average tenure of a CIO in the United States in an organization like this is just 4 years. I'm by far the longest serving person in that role at a DOE level in not just Kentucky history, but US history. In leading the large variety of EdTech services used by all schools and DOE staff, my position during the past 32 years in that kind of leadership position with the Kentucky Department of Education was never guaranteed or protected, and thus I could immediately have been removed at any time without recourse. So I had to bring my best and prove myself each day worthy of this position for 32 years, just like a point guard starter on a basketball team has to do to keep his starting position. There are 5 chapters in my life, and hopefully a 6th. My youth in K-12, my West Point experience, which I blocked out mainly. Just kidding, West Point folks, they're watching this. It was good. It's hard. There was 19 of us that went from Kentucky, and only 2 of us that made it. So, and my graduating class had the 2nd highest attrition rate in West Point history. So there weren't very many of us that made it. So it was truly a survivor kind of thing. My time in the U.S. Army, my adult experience here at KD, and my 5th chapter is just beginning, my active retirement and hopefully my inactive retirement. I'm going to call this my upcoming gap year. You normally hear that term for someone that has graduated in high school, is trying to both take time off and figure out what their next steps in life are. At the age of 63, I'm going to take a gap year to let myself heal and rest from the intense full court press that my life has been on since the 1970s, to try to figure out how I want to spend the active years of my retirement, including how much or how little I want to re-enter the workforce at a later time. I have been steadily contributing to investing in 3 different retirement systems since I was 18. So that does provide me the means to be able to do this at the age of 63. I'm not going to be wealthy, but it'll be enough for my wife and myself. Whenever I would meet with superintendents that are retired, They would say every day is a Saturday and Sunday, and that sounds really appealing to me. So I've been figuring it out, and if I retire now and I live over the next 20 years, I'll have 70 years worth of Saturdays and Sundays back to back to do what I call the A's. I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Alaska. It's the only state I've never been to. I want to do the Appalachian Trail, as nutty as that sounds. I've always wanted to get my doctorate for the past years, though I've been paying for the education of my family. And so I want to circle back to me and do that. AI is going to be of interest to me. It was interest to me when I was an Army officer, many years ago, and it's only taken a bit of time for it to bubble back up and be on the radar screen. I want to do athletic things. I want to golf. I want to golf all the time, fish, and just get healthier, to be honest with you, do some of the things like that. When I left the Army, I looked forward to no longer having to get up in the 5s regularly, but I could always hate getting up at 6:01. I hate to get up at 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. and had to do that for years. And so I have very rarely got up in the 5 since then. I got to tell you, I am looking forward to no longer having to get up in the 6s regularly, but instead 7:01 and maybe even 8:01. To me, there is no better way to live life than to make good opportunities happen for children, teachers, and staff, and giving them a good run to go at their current situation, as well as their future. The past 32 years has given me that very rewarding opportunity, which I'm incredibly grateful. My full court press in life began in elementary school, trying to get academic and athletic scholarships. There's no way my parents could have paid for that, and I did it to try to get myself that through the intense West Point years, then the U.S. Army, then going to night school in computer science and large systems management, ending with Desert Storm, being a dad to 4 children, a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, a youth head coach for 25 years of 5 different sports, and for the past 32 years with OET, KET, and the High School Athletic Association. I didn't take a sick day of work in the Army, and nor over the past 32 years. As a player and worker, I never missed a single practice or a game, but instead played through injuries and illnesses. At work, I never came close to using my allotment of vacation and leave days. So I am way overdue for an extended time off. So I'm going to do that in my upcoming gap year. But I'm immediately a bit anxious on my true ability to stop going full court press and actually walk the ball off the floor and actually sit down without squirming on a bench. I plan to list my gap year on my LinkedIn resume and describe it as doing as much or little as I like and soaking in and enjoying life in a new way. And after that, I'll see how much or little I want to enjoy the workforce. We'll see. I have done what I could do, the best I could do it with my fullest energy and passion for 32 years. I've tried the best to prepare us for today and to be relevant and grow and be innovative and be cutting edge and be prepared for a long-term future. We risked our jobs many times along the way because it was more important for the future of Kentucky K-12 for us to take that well-calculated risk than not to do it. I know, and you all can recall, I'd regularly tell my wife before we would do one of these things, that I really believe this is the right thing to do for the future of Kentucky EdTech, but if it doesn't go well, it's likely the end of me. And there's a long line of that history. That Ket's timeline has those that we all took risks. No one had ever done it before, starting with getting, moving to Ethernet versus token ring, to the cloud, and a lot of different other things that we've done over the time. But it's worth the risk. Nearly everyone wants to be considered innovative, but being truly innovative requires you to be willing to put your job on the line each time. However, I am, and we are far from perfect. And thankfully, we were right nearly every time. We had the talent and grit each time to make it happen, which has been a key in helping us remain a national leader for 3 decades. I felt a daily obligation to give you all my best in these 3 important positions, everything I had every day, given its impact to all the folks that could benefit from it. I will never be part of something so meaningful and wonderful that it positively impacts and helps so many as this. I have never had the kind of wonderful and meaningful working relationships with so many wonderful individuals and as organizations as this. But I know life goes on and everyone is replaceable. Just as someone else wore my high school and college basketball jerseys, filled my officer positions when I left the Army, and those organizations continue to do well. And the same will occur as I depart these 3 roles I've been in 32 years. We've done some things over years to help minimize the impact of departure by filling those vacancies with talented and dedicated folks. Last paragraph. This is probably the hardest one. In closing, it's been great fun and an honor and a privilege. It's been so rewarding for so many of you to believe in me. I want to say that again. It's been so rewarding for so many of you to believe in me, even after I stumbled. And it's been so rewarding for me to believe in so many of you and what we have been doing at Compass for 32 years. I am so blessed and lucky to have been part of this for 32 years. And thanks to all the people in the past and present for being part of this wonderful journey with me. That's it. Thank you. Back to that bunch. I did better than I thought I was going to do the other time. So thanks. Thank you. Thank you. So that's it for cool and interesting news. And our OET team huddle, which we'll have after this, we'll do a little bit more than that when this finishes. So let's go to more. I guess it's cool, good and interesting news. Legislative session update. Rob, would you like to say anything?
I would.
Yes.
So I'm not going to say anything about the legislative update. We'll save that for somebody else. But I do want to thank David on behalf of really the Commonwealth of Kentucky, the Department of Education, all the people that he's worked with. David and I have known each other for a while, not 32 years, but we have known each other for a while. And I have found him to be a valued colleague and at times a worthy adversary. So because we've gotten to know each other in a very professional setting, but also in a personal setting. And I'm not gonna take the time that David took, and he deserves every bit of time for the 32 years that he has spent here. We're gonna spend the next amount of time that he is with us, whether that's July or August or December, really celebrating David's career. So that will come later, and I'm sure we have lots of really good ideas from the OET leadership on how we can do that. But it is important that we acknowledge David's efforts. I really got to know David on a different sense when we took a little road trip to Johnson County very recently. And we were just in the car driving up there and talking about things. And, he talked mostly about Johnson County and his pride having come from there and what it means to come from Eastern Kentucky to the path that he has gone on throughout his life. He talked a lot about his family. If you haven't met his family, they are wonderful people. And you don't get to do what David has done without the support of your family. And so thank you to Tina and the kids who have really supported David and have loaned him to us, really, in many senses, over all these years. And he talked about his team here and all the teams that he's had the privilege of serving on. And he also told me about the very first place that he got a speeding ticket, which was on this stretch straight up the hill.
First time I ever speeded, really?
In a really fast car. And I did ask him if he had a girl in the car with him, but he said no, absolutely not. David, when you have the opportunity to get to know him, he is a very genuine, caring, thoughtful person. And so I hope that all of you have seen that. I've had the privilege of seeing it maybe a little closer than some of you. So we have been very, very fortunate to have him here. And as I talk to the folks that are on the call today from the district, you have had a great champion that has really advocated for you and your staff and your students each and every day. In service to KET and KHSAA as well. So we're KHSAA, you know what I meant. Right. So I think it's just been a privilege. And as we think whether we are in districts or we are here, there are some people that you will talk about for a long, long time, even after they have gone on to do that next year. And I think that gap year is a good idea. So I know that many times here at KDE, we have certain forms that are named after people, or that we somehow those people have made such an imprint on our lives. And I'm sure there will be things that we talk about for years to come that are attributed to David Couch. So I appreciate just a few minutes of your time to kind of jump in and thank David publicly. And again, we will plan a bigger celebration with more festivities in the future before you get out of here. David, in true David fashion, he gave us a lot of runway to be able to plan for that celebration. So I certainly appreciate that. Thank you, David.
Thanks, that was wonderful. Next up, legislative update. Lisa, ready to do that?
I am.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, this is not going to be near as exciting as or good as the last comments, but today is day 34 of 60 for the legislative session. The last day for new bills to be introduced in the House is February 26th, and the last day for the Senate is February 28th. Right now, we have about 7 EdTech specific bills, and 2 of those have already progressed part of the way. So 2 of them are really actively moving forward. And those 2 are the one regarding a cell phone ban with exceptions for students during instructional time. And I think there's been an amendment, but it has passed out of the House. And excuse me, it's gone through committee and it's had its second reading. So it could go for a vote this week, next week, or moving forward. And the other one is House Bill 15, which is consumer data privacy. There are several consumer privacy bills that have been introduced, but this one has actually moved forward. And it's not so much about students, but it includes students, and parents can make some choices on behalf of their minor children. So we're watching all of those closely. And, you know, there could be several others introduced this week that we'll have to follow. So that's it, David.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
We got a string of people don't talk to us about our contracts. And anyway, I apologize to someone, I didn't leave someone on here, Chuck and Dee Dee and Mike. So Dee Dee, why don't you take us off with the school report card to start out with that, if you could.
Okay, can everybody hear me all right?
Can everyone
All
hear it?
right,
Okay.
School report card, we now have a new vendor. Anlar is the vendor. That's a small company in located in Washington, D.C. They work with Otis Ed, and they do a lot of accountability systems. They do school report cards for South Dakota, North Dakota, Virgin Islands. So they do have some experience with them. It was just announced on Valentine's Day. So we've not really had the first meeting with them, but we're trying to schedule that out now. So we did negotiate towards the end that the school report card will probably go out later this year because we expected to have a contract in place by the 1st of January. So they said from so we were looking at like 45 days later. The expectation with that is we're still going to release the data at the same time we normally release data, but the school report card will come soon. Of course, a lot can change, but I just think it's good to kind of have that in your mind that as we start putting data in the system, as we start verifying data, the time frame may change a little bit this year just because the contract was late in getting awarded.
Thanks.
Sure.
Next up, connected user experience. Who's the right one to talk about that?
Oh, I can, David.
Okay. Go ahead.
So obviously, I think most folks know that the solicitation for the connected user experience was reposted. All right, that closed on the 15th of February. We are very optimistic. All right, that in calendar year 24, we're going to be able to deliver a solution to all school districts. And I just want to remind people that obviously in the middle of solicitations, all right, you know, there are non-disclosure agreements that have to be signed. All right, and we just have to be very tight about details, which is why in the middle of the process, you don't hear us talk a lot about it. But like I said, we are optimistically now in the middle of the process again, and look forward to being able to achieve some really awesome things over the next couple of months. So just stay tuned. Mike, I'm gonna throw it to you.
So I'll hit on a couple of things here, and then I think Marty, you were going to give us a little update on the professional learning management system status. So, we got several things going on, but under the idea of contracts and RFPs and things like that, the next generation K-12 internet implementation continues to roll on track. As I say, every time I speak about it, it's a project and it's got some complexities to it. And so, be patient, work with us as we continue to get through these remaining months. We are at 42% of districts that have been transitioned. That's 72 districts. I think I've got those numbers correct. And we've got a couple of big ones coming up right here later this week, being Fayette County and Jefferson County. Not that every district is not equally important, but those are two big sites, and they typically have some complexities that come along with them. So that'll be a pretty good step there. But again, we just continue to move that forward, and I think everybody appreciates the effort that's been involved in that and so forth. So I'm not going to try to go into any more detail about that. We are working on the internet content management procurement activity to secure a new contractual vehicle and partner relationship as we go forward with that. So that is in the planning preparation stages. So again, that's an activity that we've got going on. The SEEK system, which is not necessarily as much of a touch point for the school districts, but certainly impacts every school district, being that it's the primary funding mechanism for your money coming from the state, from the Commonwealth. It continues to be in process, and that's an effort to put a new solution in place of multiple things that make up what we refer to as the SEEK system. So that continues to go on. I think those are the ones that are worthy of me mentioning right now. If I miss something somebody wants me to speak to, definitely remind me. And before I throw it over to you, Marty, I'm gonna make a quick comment. Not only is David the longest standing person in the kind of position he's in the nation, and I do get to interact with some of the leaders from other states and so forth. I can guarantee you, and I know everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it, he is absolutely the most passionate. Nobody works with a greater passion than him anywhere in the United States when it comes to K through 12. And so I want to make that comment while I had a chance there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So on the heels of that comment, I do want to recognize that, on Go Soapbox and in the chat, David, you're are definitely receiving a ton of love and comments that you've raised a bunch of us. You did give us a little bit of heads up, and it's a moment for us when the couchisms and the belief systems that you've put in place. Robin, Commissioner Kenny mentioned this as well, but are going to live and have a heartbeat forever and continue to guide us, and so that's awesome.
Thank you, Mark.
So we did want to mention also the professional learning management system. We've mentioned it in the past. It is an active solicitation as well. There is action going on, and we're working through that process. It's important to note that system is designed for a lot of professional learning activities that we create and sponsor from the Department of Education to finally put those into one single platform and one single distribution point. And so that directly targets work in professional learning in Office of Teaching and Learning, Office of Continuous Improvement, Office of Financial Services. So all of these different professional learning activities to be combined in one platform for access by all of our school districts and all of our professionals in a lot of different areas. That's what that intended platform or system is targeting. We're excited about that, to have a very consistent and efficient way to distribute learning and professionally in that way. So active solicitation going on, and we're excited to continue to work through that so that we land that contract vehicle.
Thanks. We have two fun events coming up. And for all of our staff, I expect that you participate in those in high percentages. The KISTI event, on March 13th and 15th. And Neil, if you have something you want to say, go ahead and you can say it during it. But those are wonderful events for our new staff. You'll enjoy it. You really get to interact with our districts and with our staff as well at those events. I think our CIO Summit is going to be on the 13th, right, Lisa? So tell us a little bit about the summit, if you can. Lisa, who's led that every year since the beginning of it.
Yeah.
What year is this? Do you remember?
Oh my God. I think this is 11.
Okay.
12.
11.
11. Okay.
11. Only state to do this, by the way.
And the first one I remember, we changed everything 3 days before. Yeah. So that was
Still too soon, Lisa.
it was exciting. It was exciting. So this year it's on March 13th. Marty, help me out with the starting time. Is it 10 or 10:30?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So we're 10 to 12:30 with a lunch provided by Kisti. We are in the new venue this year, so we'll be at the Kentucky Convention Center. And we're on the, did you say it was dockside, Charlotte?
Dockside.
Yeah, it's dockside, but it's you have to cross over the street or the walkway to that section of it. So we have some exciting topics that we are working on to put together, and we don't have anything definitive to share today, but we will be sending that out through the regional engineers. And so we're really looking forward to it. We sent out the registration started last Thursday or Friday, and we already have over 100 districts that have responded. And right now we only have 5 who aren't able to make it. So we're doing really well, and we have a whole slew of our OET staff ready to join in and volunteer and do whatever's needed to make it a successful event.
Let's get the topics.
Yeah, so Lisa, real quick, just a nudge to continue that registration process. We do need folks to register
Right.
so that the Kisti provided lunch is of choice of folks who register.
I do want to
Yes.
say something before we hit out, is this relationship, and I know we have some newer staff and not been to it, the Kentucky Society for Technology Education, Kisti, is a wonderful organization. And if you really take a look at, once again, I can say this written by peers, the relationship the Department of Education has with Kisti is second to none in the United States.
Right.
And in fact, the relationship the Department of Education has with districts and with Office of Education Technology in particular is we're the best in the United States with that. I talk enough to my peers, and it takes work to do that on both sides to do that. So I appreciate that. You know, nothing's 100% perfect, I know, but I am so grateful for Kisti. And that's why, you know, we really want to be a big part of that. And I appreciate them every year carving out at the beginning of it, this CIO Summit, which is unique in the United States. No other state does that, brings all their Kentucky K-12, you know, CIOs and EdTech leaders together. And more importantly, we listen for 95% of the time. That's probably a key thing versus we're talking and we're listening to our district customers, and they get a chance to be with other districts they normally probably don't interact with, and they improve their ability to communicate with others. So now the topics, topics again that we're going to hit upon.
Yeah, so we are targeting 3 really important topics for us right now, an additional deep dive with some guiding questions around artificial intelligence. We kicked that off and initiated that conversation last year with some extremely important feedback from our EdTech leaders and CIOs. We're also wrapping some big guiding questions around funding for the future. We know that funding is an extremely important topic that we're all certainly interested in. We have some additional context to work through in the near future, and so that'll be a topic of discussion, as well as some broader education topics that we're trying to better understand and wrap feedback directly from our EdTech leaders around how we can impact the educational momentum moving forward, directly tied to some teacher shortages, some attendance and student attendance crisis points for us right now. And so we'll have those discussions, as well as, backed by popular demand, we will have some lightning round topics. And when we say it, we have to definitely say lightning round. So we're excited about that as well.
Kapow.
Good. Yep. So we also have, just both, there's something else that happened in March.
We've canceled STLP because it's one of your other big wins over 30 years was the STLP program. So we still have that coming up. March 27th is our big state championship. And our deadline is very quickly approaching for folks to register and sign up to let us know. There you are. to let us know that you're coming, but also to sign up for any of the competition areas. We have several new competitions that we've got a lot of digital learning coaches that have been kicking up, and we've got a lot of folks in the districts that have been helping us design new experiences for students. So it's going to be a tremendous event, but we need you to get registered before February 28th, which is coming up pretty quickly. We'll drop a link into the chat for you also, but you go to our website, look for the button that says state, and that'll take you right out to get to all the information you need. This year, we've added some additional info for your folks in the district. I know lots of districts have updated your out-of-district travel responsibilities, and so there's some new information that folks have been requesting. We've put that on the website for you. So folks that are making those requests to travel will be ready to go. Just go get it off the website and you can include it in your travel requests. Other than that, it's going to be a great day. We're expecting record-breaking crowds again. We're super lucky to get to work with Central Bank Center. They're like the sixth man on the team who really help us with their partnership, and it's a great experience. It's going to be great. We hope to see every single one of you there. Remember, you don't have to compete. If you have teachers, if you have staff, if you have folks that aren't sure what STLP is about, if you haven't been part of STLP for a while and you think, I don't even know what it's about anymore, come to Lexington, spend a couple hours with us, and I guarantee you're going to go back energized and excited and ready to get your kids involved. So we'd love to see you, love to get you registered.
Besides these monthly webcasts, those 2 days are my favorite days of the year, right?
Absolutely.
So the STLP event is my favorite work day of the year. KISTI is my, it's right up there with that. So those are two awesome events. Be there, and
Awesome.
It's fun, and you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And you make great connections with that. So thanks for leading that, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Marty, before you give your AI update, I know we have Phil Coleman that joined us today. So hey, Phil, thanks for joining us. We do have the OET director vacancy. Phil's vacancy is now posted. And so I put a link to that. So this is a promotion for those that, if you know someone who may be interested in that, help us, promote that. We're also going to put that out on LinkedIn and the personnel site. As you heard from my own personal example, I did not learn about this position through the traditional means. So, we want to try to do all the things out there, the traditional ones like posting on a website and the state government personnel website, but also non-traditional ones of LinkedIn and even like this. And so the reason this is important, when our new staff that we hire, you know this, and whenever we get someone new, I always schedule time with them to say, how'd you find out about us? Why'd you want to join us? And a good number of that is, and I'm very proud of, they've heard about how, this cool organization by word of mouth. They didn't apply to something, is word of mouth of these guys are doing cool stuff, and they got tons of cool people doing awesome stuff. You want to be part of this. And so this is a word of mouth thing of trying to get the word of mouth out there about this position. As I say, it's a very important one. And so we want to get some good applicants out there. So it's posted, and I just want to let you see it to share that with others, and it'll be on the personnel site. Amy, is there anything else that we want to say about it?
Yeah, other than, we're going to tweak the personnel, but everything is pretty inclusive on the KD website. So it gives you real good guidance on how to apply and just basically.
What Amy's talking about, we're going to tweak the wording on the personnel site because it's not all inclusive of what's on the KD site. So it's the same thing as they just, the part that posted is that it's not the part, and you're limited in amount of space on it, 532 characters, something like that. And plus, there's a lot of boilerplate stuff they want to put on it that I would take off the boilerplate stuff to put in, but we're not allowed to do that. So, but you'll see this job posting out there. So try to get the word of mouth out there. So Marty and I this afternoon will be presenting to all KD staff on the topic of artificial intelligence. I'll be giving a little bit of background on it, and Marty will be, showing some things. And he showed us a little bit in the KISTI event, I think, some of these things, right, when we had it, the fall event. But you want to share a couple other things associated with that, right, Marty?
Yeah, that's right. We thought it would be just a great opportunity to just kind of walk through with our district leaders how we're structuring this conversation around artificial intelligence with our team KDE. And so we're really focused and structured around the ideas of artificial intelligence as a work and learning partner. Really important for us to structure it and help folks think through, how can you help me fill in the blank? So how can you help me design something, create something, and letting artificial intelligence be that partner for you in all the right ways. And so, again, as we've shared before, but it's really important for us to push on what is in our KETS master plan about artificial intelligence and how we believe that we can encourage, engage, and empower the safe, secure, and responsible uses. We certainly ask you again to give us feedback on the draft guidance brief that we've sent out and created. There's been a lot of resources included in that, as well as at the national level, but also leveraging some other state work that we think is helpful as you are structuring your guidance locally in your school district. And so we really believe that if we just kind of control the hype a little bit of AI and artificial intelligence and just replace it with the terminology of emerging technology. So what if we replaced any coaching or discussion points of AI with emerging technologies? Then could we receive that a little bit better? Could we take a better approach towards it? We think that's helpful. So with our team KDE this afternoon, we will break this down. We're going to unpack it a bit, encourage, engage. What do we mean by empower? What do we mean by safe, secure, and responsible? Super important framing for us to get at school efficiencies, whether that's in operational work or in the learning phase, and then certainly keeping humans in the middle. So us as really smart professionals staying in the middle of that work with artificial intelligence and never taking an opportunity where we let AI do something for us and just publish it or produce it, send it out without staying engaged in that end product. So what we know is that a lot of different organizations are taking some different approaches. We know that some organizations take a lens of prohibited use. Thou shalt not engage or use artificial intelligence. We have some folks who kind of take a spin on that we know do prohibited with some minor exceptions. There's a restricted use approach that we see in enterprises and in public school settings or state agencies. There's a requested use approach that we see start to take shape. And then finally, this wide open space where there's no guidance at all, and you can do anything and everything, or our end users can do anything and everything they want. We feel like we're tipping the scale a bit where we are at a requested use space where we have curated selections for safe exploration and engagement. I know David's message is very clear. Start playing around a little bit, engage with the safe and responsible and secure artificial intelligence uses that we're coaching on. And so we want to give a pause and look at some considerations and questions before moving forward. Am I feeding any sensitive or personal information or data to an AI that it can use or share with unauthorized people in the future? So that's a consideration before we move forward. Is this AI part of an enterprise ecosystem? I know for us at KDE and for our public school districts, we have AI integrated into Microsoft Office 365, Google Workspace for Education. There's a lot of uses in the Adobe space that leverage AIs. And so, or is it a third-party tool offered by someone that we may not be familiar with, or that we have a relationship with? That's an important to consider. Third consideration that we're going to be coaching on is, does this AI want me to give it permissions to access all of my account or some of my account information? Am I giving it permissions to act like me in some cases? That's a big consideration. Consideration number 4 is the tool free? Because what we know is if it's free, then likely I'm the payment. And my data, my school district, my KDE or district data, whatever I have access to, such as other people, may be free game, or fair game. And so I want to be aware of freemium models. Is this product generated? Is the product that's generated from the AI ethical to use or share? Huge consideration for us as we move forward. Can the AI's response be shared as is, or does it need to be reviewed first? That's a trick question, because the answer is yes. It does need to be, because we're in the middle of the loop, right? So does it provide hallucinations unintentionally?
It hallucinates.
Or intentionally? Also, the ideas of psychophancy and the idea that I can talk the AI into giving me a different response because it wants me to bump it up and give it more favorable, maybe 5 stars from an Amazon rating. And so that's important for us. And then finally, have I asked my supervisor, my knowledgeable person, whoever that may be, whether the use of AI in this particular task or product, does that present a risk of some sort that I may not see? And so finally, David, we want to deep dive on this one specific point. We all have access in the physical, in the person. Here at KDE, our badges get us on certain floors. They get us on certain elevators. And I use my badge to get into meetings. I use my badge to have very specific conversations with people I've maybe have never met before. But are we giving AI permissions to access my information, my account information, or the people that I've worked with in the past or in the future? And so that's specifically a consideration that we want to talk about. Final point, just like in school districts, we've had engagements where somebody unintentionally engaged with AI, knowingly or unknowingly in some cases, and that AI started grabbing permissions and started connecting with people that the originator did not intend for. And so we unintentionally gave it access to not just a meeting or not just a document or file, but also people. And that's a real scenario. There's an example tool called Read.ai, Read AI, that you can connect to your account, and it starts to do some things for you. And so we want to use that as an example of maybe other options or other ideas that we can leverage some enterprise types approaches, whether that's with Google or whether that's with Microsoft. And so, David, we're going to have this conversation with our team, KDE, and that we're excited about.
It's probably a word of wisdom to all of you and all the districts with Read.ai, and there's other out there like it. And Bob, we've talked about it. It almost acts like a virus because it does some things. You very innocently, you can say, would you like a summary of that meeting? Because we know that Teams, for example, does transcripts, but it doesn't do summaries or minutes. And so this kind of say, well, I was in this meeting or I wasn't. I'm just going to have them do a summary of that. What it doesn't tell you is once you sign up for it, it's like if you have a pickup truck and you put a trailer on it, it hooks a trailer to you that you're not aware of. And so meetings that you join from then on, the AI, consider if there's somebody just sitting there and it had a hat on called Mr. AI Bot, it invites itself to every meeting. And it is grabbing information and doing summaries in this open space to where anybody can have access to it. So, it's words of wisdom. There's lots of those out there. We're looking at, a tool through Microsoft that actually stays contained, for example, within KD, the agency. And I think it's Copilot, the paid Copilot version. There's a free version that folks have access to. Same thing with Google, what you were talking about, Marty, but there's a paid version that allows you to do the summaries in minutes. So just be aware, like anything free, you got to have some caution to it, especially this world of AI, and have great caution to where if you're doing research or grabbing large Excel files or forgetting that file has social security numbers in it, that column did. When it's out there, you can't retrieve it. It's in the big AI world, and so just words of wisdom for that. But we talk about it more in specific to this meeting this afternoon. But we want districts aware of this as well. I wanted to give you an update on the federal COVID money. And I mentioned earlier, there's no other part of the Department of Education that benefited more from the COVID money than technology. And that's a big credit to the leadership that I was able to convince here at KDE to do that. And they supported me in that. But that money will be running out. And I just want to give you just a status of that. There was 3 flavors of COVID money. Flavor 1 and 2 has been nearly 100% expended by both districts and KD agency. As far as COVID, the COVID-3, ESSER 3, the date that it was supposed to end was September 30th of 2024. The good news, and you'll hear more about this through your financial folks, There is a great opportunity to extend that to February of 2026, that flavor of money. If you look at school districts have spent 70%, 70% of those ESSER funds, leaving 30%. So the good news is if you would have probably some more time. Now you got to do some paperwork to do that. It's not to us, it's to the feds. I suspect nearly 100% they'll be approved with the paperwork that's needed, but it gives you more time. It's good government. You're not trying to buy a bunch of stuff before the shot clock runs out. You got to do some work. That applies here to us, to KD as well, and OET. There's certain initiatives that we had, and as I told you, we got a big pot of the pie, and some of that was some we've already spent, some we haven't. That was in the COVID-3 money. So there's a great opportunity for us to apply for that. We're going to put one application in for KDE itself through all the offices. So we'll put ours in with the other offices that are asking for an extension. We're going to do that before July 1st or before that time. It has to be into the feds before the end of September. And so there's good news with that, I think, that's associated with that. The other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is I've always tried to give a good at bat of leaving Cats with good money, a good amount of money and financial health for the future. And we're in good shape financially now. And we've even done some really prudent things to prepare ourselves for the next 3 to 5 years. But I'm looking, as I always do, is way beyond that time. And so I'm really trying to give it a strong at bat this legislative session. Robin Kennedy has been outstanding. And Commissioner Kennedy, she's been one of our biggest champions. She's been that for quite some time in doing that. I present to a legislative committee next Tuesday, and obviously I'll be, it's a technology committee. I'll be presenting this topic, and I can just tell you we're going as hard as we can to get it. Obviously, the main part that we were asking for was raising the CATS baseline up from 15.4 million to 30 million. That was our biggest ask, is to help us recover from the cuts during the housing crisis and the cost of living increases, and also prepare us for the future. So that's what we're really trying to get that in place. So at 1 July, we're going full court press on that as hard as we can. We'll keep you apprised of where that's at in the House and Senate. We had good news from the governor's office. They supported raising that substantially. Now it's got to go to the House and Senate to see how well we do there. Part of the part we're how now is this is a record number of surplus funding. So we're hoping that can go toward it, but there's other things that they're balancing. We'll keep you apprised of that as it goes on. A reminder, and we talked about this in depth last month, the Legislative Research Commission has a service they do, is they provide graduation citations for 8th graders and 12th graders. I'm not going to go through all that again. I sent you that in the summary notes, but just a reminder that that's due to LRC. It doesn't come to KDE to no later than 15 March to directly provide that to LRC, the information that's needed. And there's a report, what's the correct terminology? Saying IC, the report they can run.
Ad hoc report.
Ad hoc report. That's currently an IC. To do that, it runs it, and then we have an email address at LRC to send that to. It takes about 5 minutes on average to run that. We know typically folks wait till the last second to turn in any data. LRC let us know. I think so, like 22 or 23 districts have turned it in so far, but I let them know there's a long history of districts waiting till the last second to turn in data, so don't be worried about that so much, especially if it only takes 5 minutes to do it. And they, in district fairness, they want to provide the most up-to-date data in this case, the names of students as they're coming and going. So just as a reminder, Deedee will send something out to the cases, points of contact as well. And so just wanted to do that. There's just a reminder, and the LRC, the Legislative Resource Commission staff, Jonathan Harris, the CIO there, asked me to send that as a reminder. Bob, we'll close out with you with some cybersecurity words of wisdom.
Thank you, David. I've got a couple of quick things. One, I'll remind all the districts, of course, August is coming up fast, even though it seems like it's months and months away. It actually is months and months away, but those months travel very quickly, and you'll need to get your cybersecurity health check ready to go for your board. We're going to be doing that here at KD as well, which is super important. This is a great thing for you to do to make sure you know where you're at. It's kind of the initial framework, if you will, for cybersecurity in your district, and you've got some information about that in the spring cleaning emails that have gone out from your CATS engineers recently. So I highly encourage you to look at that and start preparing for that and don't get caught behind. Second, As we've mentioned, KISTI is coming up, which is an amazing event. If you are going there, there are some amazing cybersecurity and security sessions going on at KISTI. Highly encourage you to check those out. Highly encourage you to get together with your other CIOs, DTCs, technicians who are having meetings and talk about cybersecurity. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening. I know Colin Glover with Department of Homeland Security has some sessions, and he and I have been working together to try to fix up some external vulnerability scanning for districts. If you have questions about that, look up Colin Glover there. And then lastly, David, I just want to say, you mentioned something, and it was like living a life with no regrets, not having any regrets. And I think that speaks to the effort that you put into every day, because that takes time and effort to live with no regrets. I'm really excited that you didn't say that you just had one regret, because I know that would have been, so I was really excited that you said no regrets in any way. That was super special. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks. So David, before you make any closing comments, I got two things I need to mention real quick.
Okay.
The offers of assistance first round continues to be carried out, $12 per ADA. And the second round of offers will begin late March, April, early April, which is $9 per ADA. So that all remains the same. Just want to remind that. But the bigger thing I want to remind everybody about is the E-rate filing window. So the E-rate filing window closes March 27th. So you don't want to wait till March 26th to be doing everything you need to do. So again, just a reminder, I know you all hear that regularly from your the KEs and others, but just wanted to remind folks of the importance of staying on top of that and being in front of it.
Mike, given the timing, and we talked about this early for today, is given the timing of KISTI, just like last year, we'll see whether we have, a monthly webcast in March, because we cover a lot of material, all of us, and so we'll leave that as a possibility. But Bob, to your point of cybersecurity, I'd like to say this as well in supporting. When I go to these national events, they always bring up someone to sit at a table, and they show how easily they can get in school districts. Now, that's not Kentucky, but they show servers that are facing the internet and how quickly they got into it, and the tools that are available to everyone. They're available to us. They're available to all districts. There are tools, free tools out there, tons of them, that can run a scan on the things you have facing the internet, and if you have vulnerabilities to that. We talked about during the pandemic is using some of these COVID monies to pay a separate organization to come and do a cybersecurity health check of your organization. Given how much we fielded and the short time we fielded it, is I recommend strongly to every district. That's one of the best investments you can make to do that. But if you don't have that, there's tons of tools out there, free tools, that you should do pretty regularly to see if you have something facing. And I know, it's kind of like, the weeds along a fence in your backyard. You're like, I'm not going to deal with that. And then, but before you know it, it's over top the fence and you can't get to it. There's got to be something that reminds you pretty periodically to kind of take a look. Have you accidentally have something, facing the internet that should not be facing it? Or have you just not kept up with it? Because I got to tell you, these cyber criminals, besides trying to grab your credentials by tricking you to give you your username and password, the second most prevalent way is not through breaking through technology, it's that. Those are the top two. We do a lot of things technology-wise to make it difficult, which we need to do, but they've realized, why work that hard when I can just do this? And I'm shocked when Ross Lemke gets up and he goes live and shows these districts of the systems he's getting in. Because they're facing it and how they run patched and so we offer that service too. You can do it yourself. You can pay someone. That's a service that we offer, as well as take a look at what the things they're facing out there to ask our staff. So you have 3 different ways to do that. So I strongly recommend the districts that you take advantage of that, but get an overall health check, just not that one, given the amount of the stuff that we fielded so quickly. And Bob, I know you support us on that.
We do have 2 Go Soapbox.
Oh, we have to go. Okay.
Do you want to
Yeah.
go ahead and share those? So we did have 2 Go Soapbox questions. The first one was, kind of revving up the excitement for KISTI 2024. What's most exciting for our district leaders for the KISTI 2024 Spring Conference, and the overwhelming majority, near 70% of folks said all of it. So featured sessions with national experts, networking with colleagues, breakout sessions. The new venue has some excitement, learning from vendors and exhibitors, KISTI Outreach Awards, but most importantly, all of it. Everyone's excited for all
Well,
of it.
you know, we didn't list the Summit, so hopefully that's a good one that you all,
Absolutely.
you all look
That's
forward to.
included in the all.
That's included.
Yeah. And then finally, do you already have a school level and district level policy on student personal cell phone usage? That's tied to what Lisa shared with the legislative update of potential future legislation during instructional time or classroom learning time. And 53% of our respondents, and the responses are still coming in, shared that yes at the school level. Another 16% said yes at the district level as well. And then 8% said yes, both school and district. And so those are pretty high percentages. 15% said no. And then there's a few folks who aren't sure.
Yeah.
And so, David, that goes to the question of, do you already have local policy in that?
Yeah. And you know, the part is that you need really legislation when you already have such a high percentage. And they say a very high percentage of districts already have this. So that was good to know. Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate you bearing through my intro, and it's continuing on. It's been, like I say, it's been wonderful. For our staff here, we'll be taking a 15-minute break, and you get bonus section. But we'll do a very abbreviated version of our OET team huddle. We'll start at 11:30. For everyone else, thank you for joining us today.